Chosen one. Stop. Don't scroll past this. Heaven has paused your feed, your timeline, your rhythm for one reason. This word was sent specifically for you. You are not like the rest. You were never designed to blend in. That strange stirring in your spirit, that restlessness you can't explain, it's not stress. It's not coincidence. It's the sound of destiny tapping on your soul. Because what you're about to hear could prevent what the enemy planned for you. You're standing at a divine intersection, and the days ahead, the 14th of July and 15th, are not just days. They are gates, spiritual thresholds, triggers in the spirit realm that will either unlock your next level or unleash chaos if mishandled. You can't afford to take them lightly. Let me say this plainly. This is not fear-mongering. This is spiritual intelligence. You're being warned because you're being watched. Hell is watching you, but so is heaven. And heaven does not send messages like this unless something critical is approaching. The days of passive faith are over. You have been selected for something weighty. And weight requires warning. You've been sensing this for a while. The dreams, the warfare, the random heaviness, the moments when you wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. with no explanation. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual surveillance. The Spirit of God has been circling over your life, checking your positioning, monitoring your alignment. And now, the alarm has sounded. You must listen. The 14th of July and 15th will appear ordinary to those who are spiritually blind, but to the chosen, the sensitive, the obedient, they will feel like something is off. You'll sense a tension in the atmosphere, a pressure on your emotions, a heightened sensitivity in your surroundings. That's not just mental or emotional. That is spiritual friction, a war between assignments. Because while heaven is trying to position you, hell is trying to distract you. These are days when distractions will come wrapped in familiarity, a call from someone you've already healed from, a temptation you thought you conquered, a door you prayed for before, but that now leads in the wrong direction. And the most dangerous thing about these dates is this: they won't feel dangerous. The enemy doesn't always use fear. Sometimes he uses comfort. So, how do you prepare for a trap you can't see? You listen to warnings like this. You lean in when others shrug it off. You cancel plans that others call harmless. You follow conviction even when it's inconvenient. Because conviction is not control, it's protection. It is proof that God still wants you aligned. Scripture declares in the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 13, "But when He, the Spirit of truth, comes, He will guide you into all truth. He will not speak on His own. He will speak only what He hears. And He will tell you what is yet to come." And that's what this message is: a guide into spiritual truth. A push away from the edge of delay. A call to wake up before the storm hits. There is no room for compromise right now. No space for casualness. The chosen ones are being tested, not through fire, but through familiarity. Not through pain, but through pleasure. That's what makes it so dangerous. Because it's harder to discern deception when it's dressed like destiny. You've come too far to fall for something subtle. You've survived too much. You've passed too many tests. You've been through private pruning seasons that no one saw. But God saw. God marked. God remembered. That's why you're being warned now, because your next step is strategic. If you make it with obedience, you'll unlock the very thing you've been praying for. But if you get distracted even slightly, you'll delay what was scheduled to be released. Chosen one. Don't brush this off. This message is not noise, it is a signal. It is proof that heaven still has you on the radar, that the scroll of your life is still being read aloud in the courts of heaven, that your name is still spoken in the council of angels. You are not forgotten. You are called, and this moment is the evidence. Know if your spirit bears witness. If this word hits something deep inside, you comment 888 below. Let it be your sign. A prophetic act. Not for me, but for heaven to see. You're saying, Lord, I hear you. I will prepare. I will obey. You're saying, I cancel every plan of the enemy in advance. You're saying, I choose obedience now, not after the attack. Type it. Speak it. Declare it. And if this message pulled something real out of you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to stay under the flow. This is not about numbers. It's about covering. It's about alignment. It's about being in the right place at the right time, surrounded by people who are hearing the same sound as you. This is bigger than content. This is confirmation. Because you're not just being warned, you're being prepared. Chosen one. What's coming on the 14th of July and 15th has already begun to whisper in your spirit. You may not have words for it yet, but you've felt the tension building, a pressure you can't explain, a weight you didn't ask for, a spiritual alertness that keeps pulling your attention away from the noise around you. This is not in your head, it is in your calling. You're not just being warned, you're being targeted. Because these days on the calendar are not ordinary. They are prophetic thresholds, days of consequence, days that act like spiritual forks in the road. What you choose, what you allow, what you tolerate on these days will not stay contained. They will echo into the weeks and months that follow. This is not a drill. This is a moment of exposure and elevation. You need to understand something. These 2 days are traps to the careless, but triumph for the prepared. You will not be caught off guard if you move with the Spirit. But if you delay, if you ignore the nudge, if you numb the conviction, you may open the door to something that will take months to recover from. And it won't look evil. It won't look like a demon or a disaster. It will look familiar, harmless, friendly, safe. That's why it's so dangerous. The enemy knows how close you are to something, and he won't send what you won't fall for. He'll send what you used to fall for, hoping you've forgotten your last lesson. He'll disguise delay as opportunity. He'll send someone who speaks your language but not your destiny. He'll whisper, "It's not that deep," right when God is trying to call you deeper. But you know better. That's why this word found you, because you've outgrown the cycles that used to trap you. You're too close now, too marked, too needed. And while others are sleeping through the signs, your spirit is already awake. You're not waiting for drama to know something is off. You can feel it in the atmosphere, in your body, in your prayer time, in the silence between distractions. It's already begun. The word of the Lord says in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." And the 14th of July and 15th are not random days. They are appointed times. They are spiritual pressure points in your timeline. And heaven is watching, not how loudly you pray, but how sharply you discern. Not how public your worship is, but how private your obedience remains. This is the test behind the test. Can you say no when no one will applaud you for it? Can you cancel the plan that would make you feel better but take you off course? Can you fast when your flesh says, "You've already done enough"? Can you say, "Not this time," when the old thing shows up smiling like it changed? Chosen one. It's not the obvious sin that threatens your future. It's the subtle disobedience. The 5-minute delay in prayer that becomes 5 days of silence. The harmless DM that reawakens old wounds. The quick visit with someone who drains your discernment. These 2 days are when subtle decisions will carry severe spiritual impact. But don't let that intimidate you. Let it equip you. Because if the enemy is working this hard to set you off course, it's because he knows what's on the other side of these dates. Something is about to break. Something is about to be released. But only the aligned will walk through the door. Only the obedient will catch what's coming. And your obedience begins before the battle shows up. You don't prepare for war in the middle of the strike. You prepare before. And that's what this message is. A prophetic preparation. A divine briefing. A call to sharpen your spirit and cancel every ounce of casualness in your life. These days ahead are not about survival. They're about separation. God is watching for those who move differently, who delete the number, who cancel the plan, who take time to pray, not perform, who silence their feed to hear his voice more clearly. You don't need more signs. You need stillness. Because your clarity is not coming from people, it's coming from presence. And these 2 days, the 14th of July and 15, they're your proving ground. You're not going to miss it. You're not going to fall for it. You're not going to bend, because you've been warned, because you've been prepared, because you've been chosen. Listen closely. Chosen one. Not everyone can hear what you're hearing right now. That alone should make you pause. Because heaven doesn't waste warnings on those who won't act. The weight you're sensing isn't confusion, it's clarity wrapped in spiritual pressure. The 14th of July and 15th are not ordinary dates on a man-made calendar. They are sacred checkpoints. And your response will echo beyond the visible. These are not the days to ignore the still, small voice. These are not the moments to shrug off conviction as coincidence. You've seen too much, felt too much, carried too much to pretend. This doesn't concern you. That rising tension in your chest, that's not fear. That's divine urgency. You're being summoned. On these days, the pressure will feel personal, specific, almost surgical. The enemy knows your habits, your wounds, your patterns. He will not strike where you're strong. He will attack where you're weary. And that's why this warning matters. There will be no trumpet sound, no earthquake to announce the battle. Just choices, quiet invitations, little tests disguised as normal life. Will you answer that text? Will you revisit that old temptation? Will you push off what God told you to start? Will you silence your convictions just to keep peace with people who aren't even aligned with your future? These are the spiritual traps laid across the 14th of July and 15th, and they will be subtle. The enemy is not chasing you with loud threat. She's studying your preferences and feeding you options. Custom temptations, confortable lits, counterfeit doors. And if you're not grounded, if you're not fully surrendered, you may walk through them and not realize until you've lost weeks, maybe months, of your progress. Do not call it an off day. It is a coordinated assault. Every time you've felt isolated, every time you've wondered if the warfare in your life was proof you were weak, it wasn't. It was proof that you were close. The darkness doesn't waste its energy on those who pose no threat. The fight you're feeling is the fear your presence strikes in hell's plans. You were born to break patterns. You were born to change atmospheres. That's why the 14th of July and 15th are being contested. And that's why you cannot afford to go into these days casually. You need to hear this clearly. This is not the time to listen to opinions. This is the time to obey. God will not compete with your distractions. He will not yell over your phone screen. He's speaking now, quietly, directly. And what you do with this moment will mark what follows. You are standing on the edge of 2 days that will demand your discernment. But here's what most won't tell you. The pressure is proof that glory is nearby. Every chosen one goes through a moment like this. A fork in the road. A divine confrontation. A choice between what's easy and what's eternal. You're not cursed. You're being called. You're not overlooked. You're being filtered. The 14th of July and 15th are part of the refining fire. And on the other side is fresh oil, sharpened vision, and deeper authority. But you cannot walk into fire unprepared. That means praying when you don't feel like it. That means fasting when no one else is. That means deleting the number you were tempted to call. That means canceling plans that are out of alignment. That means saying yes to God again. With trembling hands, but an anchored heart. There's no room for neutral. This is war. And in war, hesitation is an opening. The Word of God declares in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind." No, that's the mindset you need walking into these days, not fearful, but fiercely aware, not anxious, but armored. God has already placed inside of you everything you need to endure and overcome. You lack nothing, but you must activate it. There is a remnant rising. You are part of it. You may not feel ready. You may still be healing, but God chooses the broken to break strongholds. You are not too late. You are not too damaged. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. Now declare it below. I choose clarity. Let that be your public confession. It's not just a comment, it's a spiritual decision. When you type it, you're rejecting confusion. You're choosing God's voice over the enemy's noise. You're declaring that you will walk in divine discernment, no matter the cost. This is the hour for clear eyes, clean hearts, and uncompromised focus. And you, chosen one, are being set apart for it. There are moments in your life where everything seems still on the outside, but the unseen realm is in a swirl of movement. The 14th of July and 15th carry that inertia, divine stirring beneath the surface of the ordinary. You will wake up thinking it's just another day, but the spirit realm will know better. These are days when your alignment is examined, not just your public faith, but your private loyalty. Because obedience isn't measured in noise, it's proven in stillness. When no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one is there to remind you of the call, these are the moments where chosen ones either rise or retreat. And for you, this moment will not pass silently. You have felt it building, the rising tension, the unpredictable emotions, the dreams that disturb your sleep, the fatigue that doesn't match your schedule. It is not a coincidence. It is spiritual alertness. The spirit inside of you is picking up what your mind has not yet fully understood. The pressure you're feeling is not punishment. It is preparation. The enemy knows something is close, something fragile, something holy, a shift, an instruction, a release, something that cannot be delivered to a distracted soul. So his tactic now is not destruction, but distortion. If he can make you tired enough to pause, confused enough to hesitate, bitter enough to close your spirit, he wins. But this moment was sent to remind you who you are. You were never meant to bow to fatigue. You were built for resistance. You were called to walk upright when others crawl. There's a reason God didn't let you quit when you wanted to. There's a reason the doors didn't open when you begged for escape. He's been preserving your voice for this exact hour. The 14th of July and 15th are not the problem. Your distraction is, your casualness is, your subtle drift from discipline is. These are not dates to fear, but they are dates to prepare for. And that preparation begins now, in how you think, how you protect your space, how you respond to divine nudges. Do not ignore the nudges. When God whispers, don't wait for him to shout. When he burdens your heart, don't push it off as emotion. When he convicts you, don't argue with grace. Respond, move, shift, reroute. Do what he says, even if it makes no sense. Because there's something waiting for you on the other side of obedience, something too precious to risk. According to the holy writings in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, verse 28, blessed are those who hear the word of God and obey it. That is the mark of the chosen ones, not just those who hear, but those who obey. You won't feel fireworks in your spirit every time you obey. Sometimes it will feel like silence. Sometimes it will cost relationships. Sometimes it will lead you into lonely places. But those places are sacred, and they are watched. God does not ignore silent obedience. These upcoming days will tempt you to make quick choices, to ease the pressure by giving in, to say yes to what feels good, just to escape what feels hard. But easy choices often lead to empty outcomes, and God is calling you to fullness, not convenience. You're not walking through this season by accident. You are in divine boot camp. Every delay, every denied prayer, every closed door, it has been God refining you, not rejecting you. He doesn't waste pain. He trains with it. And now, the test is coming. But you are ready. Not because you feel ready, but because He says you are. You've survived things that should have broken you. You've stayed loyal in seasons where betrayal would have been easier. You've wept, prayed, fasted, and still kept showing up. Don't you see? These days are not your downfall, they are your doorway. The enemy is hoping you'll sleep through them, that you'll scroll past conviction, that you'll call your caution overthinking, and bury your discernment under busyness. But not this time. This time, you'll be different. You'll respond. You'll fast without telling anyone. You'll pull away from the noise. You'll sit in silence and listen. You'll get up early and press in. You'll prepare your heart, not just your calendar, because you're not just trying to survive, you're stepping into something sacred. And heaven is watching how you enter. This isn't just about you. Your obedience in these 2 days may unlock protection for your family. It may unlock clarity for your next step. It may be the final act that breaks a generational curse you didn't even start. That's why the pressure is so heavy. This is bigger than you. And yet, It is entirely about you, your soul, your assignment, your yes. Don't treat these days casually. Prepare with reverence. Move with intention. Choose stillness over noise, because the one who called you sees everything, and nothing done in quiet faithfulness will be forgotten. There are moments in your life when time slows not because of fear, but because of the weight of what is at stake. Chosen one. You've reached one of those moments. The 14th of July and 15th are not approaching by accident. These dates are wrapped in divine tension because they are wrapped in divine testing. Not the kind of test that checks your knowledge, but the kind that reveals your position. Everything may feel normal on the surface: your job, your home, your conversations. But underneath the ordinary, there is a stirring, a push in the spirit, a gravitational pull towards separation, and separation always precedes elevation. This is what the enemy fears. Not just that you'll survive the storm, but that you'll rise changed by it. That's why the pressure has increased. That's why your usual coping mechanisms don't seem to work anymore. Because this moment wasn't meant to be managed yet, was meant to be met head on. You are not just being warned, you are being weighed. And the scale isn't measuring your performance, it's measuring your obedience. Heaven is not asking if you are gifted. Heaven is asking if you are ready. And readiness isn't about public fire. It's about private yielding. These 2 days will test what's hidden, the thoughts you haven't confronted, the emotional ties you haven't severed, the assignments you've delayed under the mask of still praying. Now, you already know what needs to be cut. And yet God is patient. You've been given time to prepare, to let go, to align. But time is not unlimited. And these 2 days are the checkpoint. They are spiritual proof that grace is still making room for you to walk through the right door before it closes. As recorded in the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 21, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you, saying, "This is the way, walk in it." That phrase should stir something in you, not fear, but urgency. Because the door doesn't close with drama. It closes quietly, while people are still distracted, still scrolling, still reasoning themselves out of obedience. You, however, have been awakened. The voice of the Spirit has been increasing in your life, not to impress you, but to prepare you. Every delay you felt, every door that refused to open, every nudge to be still when you wanted to act, those were not denials. They were protections, mercy in disguise. But now, mercy is calling for response. And this is where you must be intentional, not dramatic, not performative, just intentional. Start where you are. Fast a day. Delete the message. Turn off the distraction. Schedule the quiet time. Confront the conversation. Whatever obedience looks like for you, do it now. And if this word has struck something in your spirit, don't let it pass through your feed without responding. Like this message. That small action helps it find another chosen one who's on the edge of missing their window. Share it privately or publicly, because someone you love may be drifting spiritually and needs this interruption. Subscribe to stay under this covering. You don't need a one-time word. You need prophetic consistency. This is how you remain aligned. And for those who've been walking with this message for weeks or months, if your spirit has been strengthened here, if you've received clarity, alignment, and protection from these words, consider sowing into the assignment. This isn't a transaction, it's a partnership. Every seed supports the continuation of prophetic content, reaching people who are spiritually starving for truth. You're not just consuming, you're carrying. You are part of a remnant that knows the difference between content and consecration. God sees how you respond to what feeds you, not because He needs your support, but because He honors your honor. When you plant into the ground that feeds you, it multiplies not just for the source, but for the sower. But more than all of that, keep obeying, because these dates ahead are layered. Some of you will be tested through relationships, some through temptation, some through delay that looks like peace. But all of it is orchestrated to press this question into your soul: will you obey before you understand? Because the miracle isn't in the clarity, it's in the yes. So, chosen one, settle your heart, realign your focus. Let your obedience be immediate, even if it's quiet. God is not asking for perfection. He is asking for posture. He is asking for response. And you will respond, not as a spectator, but as one who knows, I was chosen for this moment, and I will not miss it. Chosen one. Let this settle in your spirit. The battle you are about to face on the 14th of July and 15th is not about punishment, it's about positioning. These are not random calendar days. They are prophetic gates. 2 days when the veil between realms becomes thin. 2 days when the unseen becomes clearer than the visible. And 2 days when the enemy will try harder than ever to pull you just slightly off course, because slightly is all it takes to miss the mark. These are not dates to fear, but they are days to revere. In the next few days, your atmosphere will begin to shift. Watch for it. Conversations will carry more weight. Emotions will seem amplified. Spiritual fatigue will knock harder. Why? Because you're standing near a divine checkpoint. The enemy doesn't throw storms at those going nowhere. He throws them at those who are just about to step into purpose. So, you must walk into these dates with clarity. And clarity is not something you wait for, it's something you choose. When the fog surrounds you, it will be your obedience, not your feelings, that keeps you upright. When the distractions come, it will be your discipline, not your comfort, that marks your loyalty. According to the holy writings in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 36, you need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. Then, this is where many fall short, not because they lack the promise, but because they waver in the pressure. But you were built for pressure. You've endured private battles few could have survived. You've walked through loneliness, heartbreak, rejection, and still kept your oil. And now, the testing has a timeline. The 14th of July and 15th. The trap won't come in the form of obvious sin. It'll show up in subtle decisions. It may look like a harmless conversation, a casual invite, an old temptation presented as an opportunity, a moment where your feelings scream louder than your discernment. But hear this, not everything that feels urgent is from God, and not everything that looks peaceful is pure. The enemy has studied you. He knows what version of distraction works on you. And he's not sending clumsy attacks, she's releasing tailored interference, customized confusion, delays dressed in beauty, invitations laced with spiritual sabotage. And that's why this message found you. Not because you're weak, but because you're needed. You are not just the one being attacked, you are the one being activated. Chosen one. You cannot walk into these dates passively. This is the time to guard your space, to filter your intake, to watch your words, because what you say this week carries weight in the spirit. What you agree with now may unlock or shut the door you'll face later. You cannot afford idle words. Not now. Not here. Do not mistake silence for absence. God is not far. He is hovering, watching, weighing, not in condemnation, but in confirmation. He's watching to see if your actions align with the word he gave you months ago. He's weighing your priorities, not just what you say is first, but what you prove is first. You say you're ready for breakthrough. Will you obey when it costs comfort? You say you want clarity. Will you release what's familiar? You say you trust him. Will you move when the instruction comes? These are the heart check questions heaven will ask you on the 14th of July and 15th, and your answers won't come from your lips. They'll come from your lifestyle. It's not a test of information. It's a test of alignment. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be positioned. When heaven sends warnings like this, it is mercy, not judgment. It means the door hasn't shut yet. It means there is still time to reroute, still time to fast, still time to pray, still time to say yes again with full surrender. There is still time, but not much. Your response is your warfare now, not just prayer, but preparation, not just passion, but posture. You must choose stillness over reaction, discipline over emotion, spirit over flesh. And know, if your spirit bears witness with this word, respond with the number 444 in the comments, not as superstition, but as a prophetic act of agreement, a declaration that you are alert, a sign to heaven and hell that you will not walk blind into these days, that you are not asleep, that you are aware, that you will walk in clarity, not confusion. 444 is your code for I will stay aligned. Oh, type it below. Let it be recorded in the spirit. Let it be a marker of your awakening. You are not going into these days unarmed. You are warned. You are ready. You are chosen. You must understand the spirit behind these dates. The 14th of July and 15th are not just spiritually significant because of what happens, they are significant because of what is sent. Every time God marks a moment for elevation, the kingdom of darkness sends a counterfeit. These counterfeits don't scream rebellion. They whisper compromise. They don't slam doors. They slowly shift hinges. And if you're not watching, you'll step into something that looks like destiny but carries the weight of delay. The enemy doesn't need you to fall loudly. He only needs you to detour quietly. That's what makes these dates so dangerous. Because on those days, what is sent toward you may not come dressed in darkness. It might come dressed in timing, in convenience, in subtle justifications, in emotional logic. You'll think, maybe I'm just being too intense. Maybe this isn't a big deal. And that thought, that tiny moment of spiritual looseness is all it takes to misstep. Don't soften your edge now. You've been sharpened by seasons of pain, trimmed by years of pruning, refined through wilderness you never signed up for. And now, you stand near the edge of something fragile and holy, something the enemy has seen forming over you for years. He's not launching an attack because you're weak. He's launching it because you're dangerously close to fulfillment. It's easy to stay sharp when the battle is loud, but can you stay sharp when the attack is soft? This is the test, and it won't come through enemies. It may come through familiar voices. Those who mean well, but do not discern well. Those who encourage balance when what you need is burning conviction. Those who unknowingly plant seeds of hesitation when heaven is calling for bold movement. You must know how to protect your revelation from voices that are kind but not kingdom. Chosen one. There is something sacred about spiritual tension. It is not a sign to slow down. It is often a sign to lock in, to lean in, to press your ear to the mouth of God and shut out every other sound. Because these 2 days are not just about warfare, they are about assignment recognition. Heaven is not just watching how you survive the pressure. Heaven is measuring what you discern inside the pressure. Because these days are not just about resisting sin, they are about recognizing strategy. Can you see what is being sent? Can you hear what is being whispered? Can you feel the difference between peace and manipulation? Between opportunity and trap? Between conviction and guilt? The mature know. Peace isn't always comfortable. And warfare isn't always loud. Sometimes, the greatest test of obedience is simply stillness. Doing nothing when everything in you wants to react. Remaining silent when your flesh wants to explain. Saying no when the world around you is yelling yes. There is something God wants to show you in this window, but it requires separation. Not from everyone, but from everything that numbs your spirit. The things you turn to when you're tired. The scrolling that steals your hours. The conversations that spiral into emotional fog. The habits that look small but open spiritual doors. These next few days are not about routine, they are about repositioning. Heaven is preparing to download something precise. And it's not for the Masseites, for the hidden ones, the broken ones, the set-apart ones, the ones who said yes without a spotlight, the ones who stayed when everyone else left. You. The word of the Lord says in the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 7, "Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets." And there is a plan unfolding, a pattern being revealed, but you must be still long enough to hear it. What you do now will either unlock what's been held back or delay it further. You can't afford another cycle. You can't afford another false start. You can't afford to step into something that feels right but drains your soul. You know what that cost looks like. You've paid it before, and this time you will not repeat it. This is not about being intense. This is about being awake. Because what's coming after these 2 days will require more clarity than ever before. There are doors that will open, but only for those who pass through this tension with clean hands and clear vision. There are assignments being reassigned, roles being restructured, blueprints being rewritten. God is not interested in maintaining the old structure. He's looking for surrendered vessels, responsive spirits, empty hands. You must be both alert and available. The days ahead are not for pretending. They are for positioning. You are not being overlooked. You are being watched. Not for flaw, but for faithfulness. Stay hidden. Stay holy. Stay ready. There are battles in the spiritual realm that don't look like battles at all. They look like busyness. They look like tiredness. They look like open doors that feel right but weren't born of prayer. And the 14th of July and 15th are exactly that days disguised as normal, but charged with spiritual interference. These are not accidental days. They are windows brief and weighty. In the unseen, there is movement already. Assignments are being dispatched. Blueprints are being handed down. The heavens are active. And yet, in the natural, it will feel like just another Sunday, just another Monday, But that's the danger of it. These days are going to test your discernment, not just your discipline. The trap isn't a loud, obvious collapse. It's a slow, silent lean toward the wrong thing, a few degrees off center that won't feel wrong until weeks later. But by then, delay will already have taken root, and you will wonder, how did I get here? The answer will be in the choices you make during these 2 days, the conversations you allow, the emotions you follow, the small compromises you justify because it's just this once. But small compromises to a chosen one are not small. They are openings. They are access points. They are spiritual breaches. You cannot afford a breach right now. God has been setting you apart for months, some of you, for years. That wilderness you walked through, that wasn't punishment. It was protection. That season of silence, that wasn't rejection. It was refinement. He was preparing you for moments like this. Moments that look quiet, but carry the weight of entire seasons. Chosen one. Your obedience on these 2 days will shape the next few months of your life. This is not an exaggeration. Heaven measures faithfulness in windows like Thessalonot, in your comfort, not in your feelings, but in your response to pressure, and pressure is exactly what you'll feel. On the 14th of July and 15th, your mind may feel scattered. Things that are normally clear will feel foggy. You may find yourself second-guessing instructions you were once certain about. That's not instability, it's warfare. It's the enemy launching confusion like a cloud, trying to cover what God has already confirmed. But when God speaks, He does not stutter. You must hold on to what He said before the fog came. Anchor yourself to the word He gave you when things were clear, because the fog will pass but the consequence of compromise won't. These days are spiritual sieges, and you must fortify your gates now. We find in the book of Psalms, chapter 101, verse 3, I will not set before my eyes anything that is worthless. 1. Let that be your posture. Let that be your protection. Guard what you see. Guard what you allow into your space. Guard what you give attention to. The wrong conversation can cost you momentum. The wrong thought can spiral into confusion. You must be ruthless with your focus right now. Not emotional. Not panicked. Ruthless. This is not the week to entertain your weakness. This is the week to guard your strength. That means waking up early, if you're called to, fasting if the Spirit prompts you, turning down an invite that might feed your loneliness but starve your destiny. It's about doing the hard things, the holy things, the hidden things, and God sees those things. No one may applaud your obedience, but heaven records it. No one may understand your sacrifice, but the Spirit honors it. You don't need validation. You need alignment. Because obedience in this window is going to unlock something that information can't give your revelation. Divine clarity. Prophetic insight. Instruction for your next. And some of you have been crying out for that. Asking God to speak. Asking Him to move. But He doesn't move through emotion. He moves through surrender. And these dates are your chance to show Him you're not just hungry for answers, you're ready for assignment. But the assignment won't be handed to the distracted. You have to quiet the chaos. And not just external chaos, internal noise too. The voices in your head that say, maybe this isn't a big deal. Or, I'll get serious next week. Those voices are lies, sent to dull your urgency, because the enemy's strategy is simple. If he can't stop you, He'll stall you. And if he can't destroy you, he'll delay you. Don't let him. You are too close, too called, too needed. There is a reason this warning came to you. Because you're not supposed to just survive these days, you're meant to pass through them in power. To exit them with clarity, with revelation, with orders. And if you walk carefully, if you move with intention, that's exactly what will happen. This is your proving ground. Don't flinch. Don't fold. Don't forget who you are. There's a silence that feels heavier than sound, a tension in the air that doesn't come from chaos, but from the stillness before impact. That's what the 14th of July and 15th carry. Not noise, but spiritual gravity. And if your spirit has been unusually restless lately, now you know why. The weight of these dates is not about one event, it's about alignment. These are days where heaven is looking for separation, not isolation from people, but separation from distraction, from self-sabotage, from every subtle thing that has been slowly pulling you out of position. And that's why you're feeling it. Your soul knows what your eyes can't see yet. The shaking in your emotions isn't weakness, it's calibration. The pressure isn't punishment, it's preparation. And the reason the enemy is pressing so hard right now is because something has shifted in the unseen. The gates are being watched. The oil is being measured. The books are open. And you are being observed not for destruction, but for deployment. The enemy isn't attacking you for where you've been. He's targeting you because of where you're going. That's why old temptations have resurfaced. That's why random connections have reappeared. That's why your focus feels harder to hold on to. He doesn't need you to crash. He just needs you to stall. But you were not born to stall. You were born to strike. These 2 days ahead are not passive checkpoints. They are prophetic filters. They are moments when God is testing what He can trust you with. You say you're ready for more, but are you ready to walk away from what almost worked, but wasn't aligned? Are you ready to let go of the familiar in exchange for the faithful? These days will ask you what you really believe. You might be tempted to reason your way out of obedience, to second-guess the warnings, to say, maybe I'm being too cautious. Maybe this is just in my head. But that's exactly what the enemy wants, to get you to dismiss what heaven is highlighting. You don't need confirmation after confirmation. You already know. As spoken through the apostle in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5, verse 8, be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. And on these days, his tactics will not roar, they will whisper. You'll hear, it's just one conversation, or you can always fix it later, or God will understand. But spiritual maturity says, I don't flirt with compromise. I don't gamble with grace. I don't step near the edge just to prove I can survive the fall. The mature ones understand some delays feel like peace until they produce regret. So, do not listen to your feelings more than your spirit. Your feelings will fluctuate. Your emotions will pull you in every direction. But your spirit, if aligned, will whisper truth beneath the noise. That's why you must guard your stillness. God is not sending chaos to get your attention. He's sending conviction. And conviction is heaven's act of mercy. It's the hand that pulls you back before you step too far. These 2 days are spiritual crossroads, and the turn you take may look small now, but it determines the terrain of your next season. Do not take it lightly. Some of you are being asked to cancel a conversation, to close a door, To stop replying to someone you know isn't connected to your future. And it's not rejection, it's protection. You must stop feeding what God already buried. Let the dead stay buried. You say you want clarity. This is how it comes be, closing what's still open in your soul. And if this word is pressing deep in your chest, don't push it away. Let it shake you. Let it convict you. Let it correct you. Because that correction is proof that you're still called. God only warns those he still wants to use. So now declare this in the comments. I will not fold. Type it. Not just for others to see, but so the spirit realm hears it. You are telling every monitoring spirit, every familiar snare, every dark plan hovering around the 14th of July and 15th. I will not take the bait. I will not bend. I will not miss what's mine. Let it be a prophetic statement, because heaven is listening. And you are being counted among the ones who did not fold under pressure, but stood firm and passed the test. There is a level of warfare that does not announce itself with storms, but with silence. A strange stillness that hangs in the atmosphere, making you feel unsettled for no visible reason. That's what surrounds the 14th of July and 15th. Not chaos, but a spiritual pause. A quiet testing. The kind of silence where heaven is watching more closely than usual. These days are not just spiritual checkpoints, they are surveillance zones. Heaven is measuring movements. Not just what you do in public, but what your private posture reveals. You're not just being observed by angels, you're being weighed. And this is what makes these days different. Because you've asked God for next level access, you've asked for elevation, for clarity, for the next instruction, and heaven has heard you. But the next instruction doesn't come through emotion, it comes through alignment. And these days are testing that alignment in subtle but serious ways. There will be no flashing signs, no angelic trumpet, no voice booming from the clouds. There will be silence, subtle interruptions, moments where you must choose stillness over reaction, where you must let conviction speak louder than convenience. And for many, that's where the real battle lies. Because some of you aren't being tempted with sin, you're being tempted with movement, with busy plans that seem harmless but pull you away from the stillness you were meant to sit in. The enemy knows he can't steal your calling, so he'll settle for rushing it. And nothing delays destiny like premature movement. You don't need another door. You need divine timing. Heaven is not just watching what you pursue, it's watching what you refuse to chase. What you say no to when no one's applauding you. What you release before you're praised for it. These decisions are invisible to others, but visible in the realm of the Spirit. And this is why your atmosphere must be guarded with precision this week. As recorded in the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 16, verse 9, For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth, to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to Him. The eyes of the Lord are searching, not for the loudest voice, not for the most polished believer, but for the ones who remain consistent in the quiet, faithful in the secret place, obedient even when it makes no sense. Those are the ones who will pass through these dates untouched and promoted. But you must walk carefully, because the 14th of July and 15th are not empty threats. They are days when spiritual thresholds open. For some, that opening will feel like freedom. For others, it will feel like confusion. It all depends on your position. These dates will not give you power. They will reveal where your power stands. This isn't about hype. It's about holiness. And holiness is not perfection. It's separation. A willingness to say, I will walk differently even if no one notices. A posture that says, God, you can trust me even when I'm uncomfortable. If this message has been a mirror to your spirit, then you're in the right place. These words don't come to entertain. They come to expose, equip, and align. And if it has reached you right when you needed it, don't keep it to yourself. Like this message, so it continues, reaching those still wandering in spiritual fog. Share it with someone who's been struggling in silence. You may be their only prophetic interruption. And if you've been drawing strength from these words over time, subscribe to stay covered. There is more to come. This is not a moment, it's a movement. And movements need consistency. Don't let your spirit be fed by accident. Let it be fed by intention. For those of you who feel led, who know this message has marked your spirit again and again, consider sowing into the assignment, not out of obligation, but out of agreement. When you sow into what God is doing, you are not paying for revelation. You are honoring the ground it came from. You are helping the message go further, faster, into more dark places that need light. Every act of support, whether a like, a share, a subscription, or a seed, is part of how this prophetic voice continues to rise. Not for fame, not for recognition, but because a remnant is being built, quietly, powerfully, relentlessly, and you are part of it. So, don't just listen, don't just agree. Move with the word. Respond in the way God leads you. Because these 2 days ahead, the 14th of July and 15th, are not waiting on your feelings. They are waiting on your faithfulness. This is not the hour to disconnect. This is the moment to lock in. Heaven is watching. Hell is trembling. And you, chosen one, are being counted. There is a deception many fall into, believing that as long as their hands are clean, their heart must be right. But the 14th of July and 15th will not test the cleanliness of your hands alone. They will test the posture of your heart. These are days when the hidden motives, the unspoken loyalties, the buried disobedience will rise to the surface, see not to shame you, but to purify you. God is not looking to embarrass you. He's looking to refine you, to correct, align, and restore before promotion is released. Because, for many, these dates are less about attack and more about exposure. Exposure of the cracks. Exposure of unchecked emotions. Exposure of spiritual drift that you didn't notice because you were still active, still praying, still posting, still singing. But activity isn't always obedience, and routine isn't always reverence. The Spirit of God doesn't settle for outward performance. He wants full possession. On the 14th of July and 15th, expect your emotions to be stirred, not always by negative things, but by subtle triggers, old memories, unexpected offense, random waves of anxiety or sadness. These are not just chemical reactions, they are indicators. Something is trying to access you. Something old, something unhealed, something unsubmitted. But God, in His mercy, is revealing it now so you can repent before it grows. This is not punishment. This is prevention. You must understand, your spirit is being recalibrated to handle the weight of what's coming. And recalibration often feels like discomfort. It will feel like being pulled in two directions. It may even feel like instability. But don't run from the process. Lean into it. Ask the hard questions. Lay your motives on the altar, because your why matters to heaven. It was spoken through the apostle in Hebrews. Chapter 4, verse 12. For the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. End of. This is what is happening now. The word is searching, not to condemn you, but to prepare you. You cannot carry what's next if your heart is still cluttered. God is not just trying to hand you a blessing, He's trying to build in you the character to sustain it. And these 2 days will be a mirror, not just to show you your strength, but to confront what's still in hiding, the places you've avoided, the decisions you've delayed, the yes you gave with your mouth, but not with your lifestyle. Heaven is calling it forward now, not because the door is closed, but because it's still open. That is grace. But grace doesn't last forever. For some, this will be the last warning before heaven moves in silence, before the instruction is withdrawn, before the access is retracted. God doesn't stay where He's constantly ignored. The Spirit will not wrestle with you endlessly. That's why this warning comes now, because He still desires to walk with you. But only if you're walking in step. You must take responsibility for what you know, for what He already told you, for what He's whispered in the secret place but you haven't yet acted on. This isn't about earning His love, you already have that. This is about showing Him you can be trusted with what's next. Chosen one. Don't wait for another confirmation. Don't wait for a sign in the sky. You already know what must be surrendered. You already feel what needs to shift. These dates, the 14th of July and 15, they're not designed to punish you, but they will press you. And pressure, without obedience, produces delay. God is not waiting for perfection. He's waiting for response. Will you forgive? Will you delete what you know is a door to temptation? Will you stop entertaining what you've already been delivered from? Will you cut off the soul tie that still tugs at you through silence? These decisions are not minor, they are monumental, because these are not just personal struggles. They are spiritual locks. And the key to unlocking your next is in your response. You cannot worship your way out of disobedience. You cannot fast your way out of rebellion. You cannot shout your way past a command you keep ignoring. This is the time to act. Quietly, immediately, reverently. Heaven is watching, not with a whip, but with a pen, ready to record your movement, ready to release the next instruction, ready to confirm your identity through obedience. The question is not whether you are called. You are. Heaven settled that long ago. Your name was etched into divine strategy before you took your first breath. The question now, the only one that matters, is whether you'll move when it costs you your comfort, your timeline, your pride, and your control. There are moments when God doesn't send confirmation, He sends conviction. And the 14th of July and 15th are full of that kind of holy weight. These are not days for signs and wonders. These are days where heaven watches for decisions, for movement that aligns with what God has already whispered to your spirit in the secret place. You already know what's pulling at your obedience. You felt the tug, the slow resistance, the inner argument between your flesh and your assignment. And the truth is, these days are not about the size of your struggle, they're about the direction of your response. God is not asking for perfection, He's asking for positioning, because on the 14th of July and 15th, something will be released. That's why the tension has risen. That's why your peace has felt unstable. It's not that you're under attack alone, it's that you're near a divine transaction. Something is about to shift hands in the spirit. A baton, a mantle, a key, but only the ready will receive it. And readiness is not proven in your words, it's proven in your obedience, in your discipline, in your surrender, in how you protect your oil when others waste theirs on distractions. These are days when God will bypass the loud and elevate the loyal, the consistent, the quiet ones who show up when no one's clapping. Your life has not been random. There's been a rhythm to your pain, a purpose behind your isolation. The warfare you've endured hasn't just been about attack, it's been about qualification. You've been measured in silence, refined without applause, hidden, not because you were forgotten, but because you were reserved. And now, your moment is approaching. But this is what you must understand. There will be options on these days. Not all of them are demonic. Some will look helpful. Some will look like answered prayers. But they won't be from God. They will be tests of your discernment. Just because it comes in peace doesn't mean it carries God's presence. The word of the Lord says in the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 12, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. And that is what you must watch for. Not just what feels right, but what is right in the spirit. Do not lean on your emotions in this window. They will deceive you. They will romanticize old wounds and call them new beginnings. They will push you toward comfort when you were called to confront. These 2 days are meant to anchor your steps or expose your drift. You are either walking into greater clarity or into greater confusion. There is no neutral ground. So protect your gate. Guard your conversations. Silence your environment long enough to hear clearly. If your life is too loud to discern, then it's too loud to lead. And, chosen one, you were not called to follow trends. You were called to carry truth. That requires a higher level of separation, a deeper level of obedience. Some of you will feel pulled to go back to what's familiar, what's easy, what costs you nothing. But you must understand, your old life has nothing new to offer you. God is not calling you back, He is calling you forward. But only the obedient will enter. These days are not about opportunities. They are about orders. And orders are not negotiated. They are followed. You don't need to feel ready. You need to be responsive. God qualifies the surrendered. He empowers the obedient. And He accelerates the ones who respond without delay. Delay is where destiny dies. And now, if your spirit knows this word is for, you respond with the number 555 in the comments. Let it be your banner. Let it be your agreement with heaven. Let it be a declaration that you are ready to walk into these 2 days with your eyes open and your posture low, that you will not be led by feelings, but by fire, the fire of discernment, the fire of obedience, the fire of truth. Comment 555 below. Let the spirit realm recognize your signal. Let every assignment of confusion know you are awake, armed, and aligned. Because when you comment, you're not just typing, you are testifying. You are declaring in front of heaven, hell, and every watching principality that you refuse to be passive, that you see the trap and will not fall for it, that you hear the voice of God above the noise of culture, that your next move will not be emotional, it will be prophetic. Let this act be your seal. Let it echo in the spirit. I am chosen, and I will obey. Because heaven is moving, and so are you. This moment, this stretch of days is not unfamiliar to God. The 14th of July and 15th are not surprises on his timeline. They've been marked from the beginning. And while you may feel the pressure building now, you need to know God's eyes were already on these dates before you even knew to prepare. That's why you're being given this warning. Because His mercy runs ahead of your decisions. His grace sends advance notice. Not to burden you, but to position you. And how you respond to this moment matters more than you know. You are not standing at a random fork in the road. This is a divine checkpoint. A prophetic divide. A Jonah moment. You know the story. A man called to obedience, but distracted by fear and logic. A prophet who heard God clearly but still ran, not because he was wicked, but because he misunderstood what was at stake. He didn't grasp the weight of delay. He didn't realize how one decision could alter not only his life, but the lives of an entire city. Jonah tried to escape and ended up in a storm, not because God wanted to punish him, but because God refused to let him waste the assignment. And that's what's happening now. God refuses to let you waste what He's placed inside of you. That's why there's pressure. That's why you can't rest like you used to. That's why you can't ignore the nudge anymore. Because you're being summoned. Not gently, urgently. But here's the mercy. You haven't missed it yet. Yes. The enemy has tried to distract you. Yes. The wrong voices have been louder than the right ones. Yes. The pressure has made you consider walking away altogether. But still, you're here. Still. You're reading. Still. Your spirit is alert. That's proof you haven't missed it. But if you do miss this, if you ignore this threshold, it won't be because you weren't warned. The word of the Lord says in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, verse 17, Son of man, I have made you a watchman. So hear the word I speak and give them warning from me. And this is what this message is. A watchman's cry, a prophetic interruption, not for the world, but for you, because you carry something that must not be aborted, a word that must not be buried, a light that must not be dimmed. And the danger of these next 2 days isn't just the obvious attack, it's the almosts. Almost listening, almost obeying, almost separating from the distraction, almost choosing obedience. Almost is the devil's favorite word. He doesn't need you to fall. He just needs you to hesitate long enough for the door to close. You've been here before, felt the stirring, ignored the whisper, told yourself, I'll do it next week. But next week never came, and the window passed. This time cannot be like the last, because for some of you, this is your Nineveh. This is your final warning before the wave crashes, before silence replaces instruction, before access is revoked, not out of wrath, but out of righteous order. God doesn't repeat Himself forever, and He is too holy to chase a heart that refuses to yield. So what will you do? Will you run like Jonah, or will you rise like one who knows the clock is ticking and mercy won't wait forever? This moment isn't about gifting, it's about response. It's not about how long you've been saved. It's about how quickly you obey. It's not about how loud your worship is. It's about how low your pride can fall. The 14th of July and 15th will expose all of this, not through chaos, but through choice. Will you return to what's familiar or press into what's holy? Will you settle for convenience or reach for conviction? Will you keep repeating cycles or break them once and for all? You won't be forced, but you are being called. And that's the difference between judgment and mercy. Mercy warns. You've been warned. Now, It's time to act. Quietly, deliberately, without hesitation. No more almost. No more delay. No more excuses. Let the Jonah in you die here before the storm, before the sea, before the detour. Let the hesitation be buried. Let the obedience rise. Let your yes be louder than your history. Let your surrender echo louder than your excuses. Because Nineveh is waiting, and so is your next assignment. The intensity you're feeling right now is not imagined, it is real, and it is spiritual. You may be asking yourself, why now? Why this pressure? Why this timing? And the answer is simple, but weighty, because the enemy knows you are close, too close. The closer you get to divine fulfillment, the more precise and personal the warfare becomes. It stops being about general distractions and starts being about targeting your deepest vulnerabilities, not to destroy you outright, but to nudge you off course, not by miles, just by inches, just enough to delay destiny. And this is where many fall, not in obvious rebellion, but in small, tolerated compromises, quiet hesitations, delayed obedience, safe decisions that feel spiritual but are born from fear, not faith. Chosen one, you must realize that the warfare around the 14th of July and 15th is not proof that something is wrong. It is confirmation that something sacred is near. Hell does not invest this kind of energy into people going nowhere. The pressure is not punishment, it's prophetic proof. You are being fought because you are a threat. The enemy sees it before you do. He saw it in your lineage, the prayers of your grandmother, the covenant of your bloodline, the generational altars you are called to tear down. He saw it in your wilderness, the way you refused to break, even when you were exhausted. He saw it in your silence, the hours you spent in hidden places, weeping and worshipping when no one was watching. Heaven saw it too. That's why you've been preserved. Not because you've been perfect, but because you stayed available. You kept showing up. You kept saying yes. Even when you were misunderstood. Even when doors slammed shut. Even when the process stripped you down to the bone. You endured, and your endurance has been noticed. Now, the heavens are shifting. You are coming to the end of a season of pressing. You are nearing the breaking of a pattern that has stalked your bloodline for decades. And just before you cross over, hell is pulling out its final tricks, distractions, emotional instability, past subtleties, waves of confusion that make you question what you already know. This is the last mile, the final bend in the road. And this is where many fall back, not because they're weak, but because they misread the war. They think the pressure means something's wrong. But for the chosen ones, pressure is a sign that everything is about to shift. Heaven spoke through the prophet in Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 9. Do I bring to the moment of birth and not give delivery, says the Lord. God didn't bring you this far to leave you barren. He didn't refine you for years, only to let you break at the door of breakthrough. You are not at the end, you are at the edge. And that's why discernment is vital. Because the closer you get, the more the enemy will disguise his distractions as direction. He won't send chaos. He'll send convenience. He'll offer peaceful exits, reasonable delays, mature compromise. And unless your spirit is sharp, you will interpret those lies as wisdom. Don't let your flesh speak louder than your future. You are not weak. You are weary. But weariness is not failure, it's a sign you've been fighting. And heaven is not asking for your perfection in this hour. Heaven is asking for your posture, that you remain available, that you refuse to numb your discernment, that you keep your ears tuned to his whisper, even when it would be easier to sleep. This moment is not about speed, it's about sensitivity. You are walking through days that will define how your next chapter unfolds. And though it may feel like nothing is happening, everything is shifting. In the silence, in the stillness, in your restraint, in your surrender, everything is shifting. Don't stop now. Don't back down. Don't make peace with distractions God already exposed. Don't revisit places he rescued you from. Don't wait for another sign. You are the sign. Your life, your survival, your endurance, it is all evidence that something holy is about to be born. And if the resistance feels personal, it's because the breakthrough is too. Let the pressure push you deeper into obedience. Let it drive you into prayer. Let it break you open not in defeat, but in readiness, because when this window closes, something will either be released or missed, and you were not called to miss it. The weight of this moment cannot be overstated. You are standing on the edge of something so spiritually precise that even the smallest misstep could cost you momentum. The 14th of July and 15th are not symbolic, they are strategic, appointed, scripted in the spirit long before they appeared on your calendar. And now, the eyes of heaven are locked in. This is where discernment becomes survival. Not survival from danger, but from distraction. Because these days are not marked by catastrophe, they are marked by decision. Not the kind of decision that plays out in a single moment, but the kind that unfolds over hours of subtle choices. What you say yes to, what you tolerate, what you delay, and who you allow near your gates. These 2 days are not meant to scare you. They are meant to separate you. This is the separation before elevation, the pruning before promotion, the last layer of unnecessary noise being stripped away, so what remains can carry the weight of glory. Because what's coming next will not rest on the casual or the comfortable. It will rest on the committed. Heaven is no longer entertaining lip service. God is no longer indulging half-hearted yeses. These days are a spiritual magnifier. What was hidden in the heart will be revealed in your response. The reason you're still feeling unsettled is because you haven't yet made your full move. Your spirit knows it. The pull to go deeper, the whisper to delete that thing, the weight behind that one relationship you've been hesitant to release. That lingering hesitation isn't confusion, it's conviction. And conviction is God's last gift before silence. So respond before the voice goes quiet. The Spirit-inspired word found in James, chapter 1, verse 22, declares, "Do not merely listen to the word, and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says." This isn't the time to collect prophetic messages like content. This is the moment to obey without delay. Heaven isn't checking for how many videos you've watched. It's searching for how many instructions you've followed. Obedience is louder than amen, and sacrifice is louder than emotion. If this message has pierced you, it means God still sees you as usable. That alone should wreck your heart, because he does not warn who he has rejected. He only warns those he is still waiting on. This is not rejection. It's rescue. Chosen one. I don't walk through the 14th of July and 15th the same way everyone else will. They may scroll. They may laugh. They may ignore the moment. But you are not like them. You are marked. You are set apart. You have been bought with a price, and that price demands response. So what does response look like? It looks like deleting the number, canceling the plan, pulling back into prayer, fasting without a public post, waking up early, not for ambition, but for alignment. It looks like creating quiet, choosing holiness, saying no to the thing that almost fits, but isn't from God. And sometimes obedience looks like supporting what's been feeding you, because you don't just eat from a table, you honor it. If this message has been a covering for you, if it has warned you, confirmed you, realigned, you sow into it, not out of guilt, out of recognition that you are receiving something sacred, something weighty, something that costs to carry. Every time you like, share, comment, subscribe, or give, you are fueling the fire of what God is doing in this space. This isn't about views. This is about victory, about keeping prophetic truth flowing freely, reaching those who are drowning in spiritual noise and need clarity to survive this season. And the chosen ones, those like you, are not just hearers, they are builders. You're not here just to consume, you're here to advance the message, to help carry it into dark corners where light is still absent. This is your moment to engage with purpose. So pause and do that now. Like this word, if it struck something in your soul, share it with one person who you know is walking into spiritual danger, unaware. Subscribe to remain connected to this flow, because more is coming. And if God moves your heart so, partner, take responsibility for what you've received, because the days ahead are not light, and prophetic protection matters. This moment right here is preparation. It is preservation. It is prophetic mercy. What you do with it will shape how the 14th of July and 15th unfold over your life. You've been warned. You've been seen. You've been invited. Now heaven waits to see what you'll do. The window is closing, not in fear, not in threat, but in finality. The 14th of July and 15th are not just prophetic dates on a spiritual map. They are the hinges of transition. And like any hinge, they are subtle, small, often unnoticed by the untrained eye. But when they turn, they swing doors wide open, or completely shut. And you, chosen one, are standing between two of them. These dates are the border between what has been and what must become. That's why everything in you has been feeling unsettled. That's why your appetite has shifted. That's why conversations that used to excite you now feel hollow. That's why old connections feel like heavy clothing that no longer fits. You are not going backwards. You are not broken. You are not confused. You are evolving in the Spirit. God is not trying to get your attention with thunder. He's speaking in the tremble, the subtle tightness in your chest, the hesitation before saying yes to something that used to be automatic, the pause in your spirit before opening that message, the stillness that settles over you after prayer. This is not anxiety. It is not emotional burnout. It is alignment catching up to you. Because the next move you make will not just affect you, it will ripple into rooms and lives you haven't even stepped into yet. Your choices this week will not stay confined to your calendar. They will form consequence either as doors opened or doors missed. And that is not to scare you. It is to prepare you. You are not carrying something small. You've been trusted with territory, and territory demands training. That's why the last few seasons have felt like a battlefield. You weren't just being attacked, you were being qualified, refined, set apart, pressed, rebuilt. God doesn't hand out authority without process, and your process is nearly complete. Now comes the test of posture, not performance. Posture. Will you stay low before God even when the spotlight returns? Will you remain hidden when the applause fades? Will you keep choosing obedience when the rewards are delayed? These 2 days will not test your gifting, they will test your depth. How deeply you trust, how deeply you yield, how deeply you listen. And yes, He is watching, not in condemnation, but in covenant. As recorded in the sacred scroll of 2 Chronicles, chapter 16, verse 9, for the eyes of the Lord move to and fro throughout the earth to support those whose hearts are fully His. That's who He's scanning for right now, not the perfect, but the present, the ones who still whisper, yes, when no one's looking, the ones who still tremble at His voice, the ones who understand that the 14th of July and 15th aren't about calendars, they're about covenants. There is a remnant rising, quiet, fierce, uncompromising, and you feel the pull toward them. You've felt the distance from your old crowd. You've tried to make peace with people who no longer understand your urgency. You've questioned your own isolation. But let this word be the confirmation you needed. You're not being left out. You're being set apart. And that separation must be complete before these dates arrive. No residue of past cycles. No lingering compromise. No delayed surrender. Heaven is watching for clean vessels, not just passionate ones. Because on the 16th of July, something shifts. For the obedient, it will feel like wind at your back. Clarity, favor, forward movement that has been withheld suddenly unlocked. Not because you earned it, but because you endured. But for those who resisted, who delayed, who clung to old alignments with spiritual expiration, dates it will feel like silence, stillness, a missing piece they can't explain. Not punishment, just absence. The absence of what was meant to be birthed but was aborted through delay. And that's the heaviness you feel now. The weight of potential. The ache of being so close. Do not let it scare you. Let it steady you. You don't have to run. You don't have to strive. You only have to respond. You only have to stay anchored. Keep your spirit clear. Keep your space holy. These days are not asking you to be perfect. They are asking you to be pure in intention, to be humble, to be willing, because your yes still matters. The next time your phone pings, pause. The next time your flesh reacts, breathe. The next time the enemy tries to distract you, discern. These are your final hours of preparation. Move with reverence. Move like someone who knows their yes carries generational weight. It's almost here. The days that have carried such weight in the spirit, the 14th of July and 15, they're no longer approaching. They are arriving. The threshold you've sensed, the pressure you've carried, the restlessness in your soul, none of it was imagination. It was preparation. This is not the time to doubt what you've already discerned. By now, you've felt the shift. You've noticed the rise in resistance. You've seen the attempts to drain your focus, wear down your resolve, and distract your gaze. It has not been subtle. The warfare has been tailored. The testing has been surgical. But all of it has pointed to one truth. You are standing at the edge of something eternal. These dates are not just calendar markers. They are spiritual dividersa, crossing point between two versions of your future. One shaped by surrender, the other shaped by hesitation. No matter how you feel today, You need to understand, you are not powerless. The enemy has tried to convince you that the battle has been too heavy, that your strength is failing, that you've already disqualified yourself, but none of it is true. If you were disqualified, you wouldn't still be reading this. If you were finished, the Spirit would not still be drawing you. You are not abandoned. You are being watched with intention from the mouth of God, through the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a future and a hope. But this hope is not passive. It's not handed to the distracted. It's given to the prepared. On the 14th of July and 15th, doors will open, but only for the ones who walked in wisdom while others stayed in routine, only for the ones who obeyed in private, only for the ones who resisted the old temptations, the ones who fasted when no one told them to, the ones who deleted the message before it could become a mistake. These are the ones who will feel the shift on the 16th, not emotionally, but spiritually. They will sense something being lifted. They will walk into rooms that previously resisted them. Clarity will return. Peace will anchor. Vision will sharpen. And it will all feel sudden because obedience often brings breakthrough without warning. But for those who brushed off the prompting, who minimized the nudge, who stayed in the loop of delay it, will feel like confusion, like the oil dried up, like the door won't open. Not because God is punishing them, but because He honors His word. And where there is no obedience, there is no overflow. This is the separation. The quiet dividing line between those who sensed the moment and those who scrolled past it, between those who adjusted and those who avoided, between those who remembered who they were and those who chose to forget. But you chosen one, you remembered, even through weariness. You stayed available, even in silence. You remained faithful, even when it felt like you were losing time. You kept preparing, and now, heaven has taken note. What comes next will not be chaos, it will be clarity. Not because everything suddenly gets easy, but because everything becomes aligned. You will know what to say no to without guilt. You will know where to place your energy without second guessing. You will move like one who has been marked. The final stretch is not about scrambling, it's about standing. Not standing still, but standing in confidence, in stillness of spirit, in certainty that your obedience has not been wasted, that your private surrender has not gone unseen. The Lord has been watching your midnight wrestling. He has counted the times you wanted to go back, but didn't. He has heard your prayers when your voice was shaking. And now, the evidence of that obedience will begin to unfold. You have passed through the fire. You have stood under the weight. You have faced temptation and chosen the narrow road. And that road is leading you into the very thing others are still hoping for. You didn't just survive this threshold. You mastered it. Not because you were strong, but because you stayed surrendered. These dates, the 14th of July and 15th, were not your end. They were your elevation. And what happens next will not be hype. It will be holy. It will be slow. Sure. Movement in the right direction. A lifting. A realignment. A release. This is what obedience births. Not always comfort, but always clarity. And you, chosen one, are now positioned to walk in it. Chosen one. If you've made it this far, pause and breathe. You've just walked through 17 sections of prophetic clarity, each one designed to prepare, protect, and position you. Heaven didn't bring you here by chance. You've been summoned. You've been warned. And now, you've been equipped. The 14th of July and 15th will not find you unaware. You will not stumble into these dates blindly. You will enter, ready, with discernment sharpened, spirit focused, and heart surrendered. That alone is victory. But this journey isn't meant to end here. If this message confirmed what you've been sensing in your spirit like it now, it helps the message break through the noise and reach others who are still spiritually asleep. Share this with someone you love. You have no idea whose crisis might be interrupted by your obedience to pass it on. Comment below, what spoke to you? Your words may become the confirmation someone else was praying for. And if you haven't already, subscribe to stay connected to the flow of fresh revelation. We are just getting started. The prophetic doesn't stop here yet, continues. And you don't want to miss what's next. For those of you who feel deeply connected to this message, who've received and been strengthened through this word, consider sowing into this assignment. Your seed doesn't buy prophecy. It supports the expansion of this voice, this warning, this covering, and every drop of obedience matters. You are not just a viewer. You are a builder, a remnant carrier, a kingdom vessel. So engage, respond, plant, stay under the flow. Because while the 14th of July and the 15th of May mark a prophetic shaking, what happens after will require a remnant to rise. And you, chosen one, are part of it.